I've decided that biohybrid robotics are the brain rot of the engineering world. There's simply no other explanation. Some researchers made this little bipedal robot. It can walk underwater, and it's made of human muscle tissue. It can walk, I guess, and turn around, and that's something that they've had difficulty designing. As far as robotics go, bipeds are just not the greatest design. They fall over really easily, so they assembled this little balloon on top so it stays upright, but it's weighted just right. I'm not entirely sure what the use of it is, but it can be stimulated and the muscles work just like ours. Theoretically, they could live, grow, and heal. Now, if you do want an underwater robot, I guess that's fine. I don't know why it needs to walk, because there are biohybrid robots that can function underwater. I mean, you can turn a whole jellyfish into a robot. All you have to do is just slip some electrodes underneath its skin and control it with a Raspberry Pi. You can even use the jellyfish's body itself as a processor. It's called physical reservoir computing and essentially uses the jellyfish's nonlinear movements itself as a form of artificial intelligence. Is that artificial intelligence at that point, or is it just intelligence? Now, we do know that jellyfish have memory. Some jellyfish can even look at trees above the water and use that to navigate. So chances are they probably traumatized it in some way, shape, or form by turning it into a computer. But yeah, from the absolutely unhinged biohybrid robot dog that I've covered, something that does not need to exist in any way, shape, or form, but somebody still imagined up and made a paper about it, how to make a robot as biological as possible. And the flesh thing that I will never stop showing you guys until it stops haunting my dreams. This entire field is just the brain rot of engineering, and somehow I can't look away, probably for the same reasons we all do. And because this stuff is always on my mind, yes, you could control a robot like this with a brain organoid pretty easily, because you can connect a brain organoid to muscle tissue. If you're not familiar with the brain organoids, they are the tiny human brains that we can grow from stem cells, and they can run a computer. They can act as a processor. They're largely valuable for medical research because you can model human brains on the micro scale. You can even have upwards of 1 million neurons in one. No, they are not conscious. They are technically considered sentient because they are capable of having an experience. And when you use them for computation, they are trained on dopamine. They enjoy order. If you send disordered electrical signals to them, they will try to correct it because they don't enjoy that if you were to assign the word enjoy to a disembodied clump of neurons that, yes, can run a robot. This research group attached them to some muscles, and they can learn to use the muscles. One of the most unhinged papers that I've covered involved taking brain organoids and growing them near the decapitated body of a mouse, and yes, they grew projections directly into its spinal cord and could even use the muscles. They're intelligent in a way, but they're still, a clump of brain tissue just doing brain tissue things. I do find it really interesting that they can learn to, say, navigate through a maze. This is the best picture I could find of this little robot that was being trained on brain organoids. It didn't technically have visual information, but every time it was starting to go in the wrong direction away from its target, they sent disordered signals, and the brain organoids would try to fix that because they just don't like disorder. And honestly, I can't relate. I love chaos. Oh, and if you're not familiar with the flesh thing, it's living, breathing skin tissue made from human cells that you can coat a robot in if you really want to have to give your robot penicillin when it nicks itself on the corner of the table. That's the use of it. By the way, if you want access to any of this stuff, I always link them directly in the YouTube descriptions. I have people perpetually asking me for sources. It's right there! I usually have the titles in the background of my videos. Those titles. If you do not have direct access through a university or a school, there are other channels, and I'll help you find those. Knowledge should be for everyone. I do have very strong feelings that if research is going to be performed by public funding, it should be available to the public. Science is hard enough to read, and adding additional barriers is not good for literacy. I also wasn't kidding about this haunting my dreams. It actually does.